Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It's that familiar voice you hear most weeks. It's Doug. I'm back. I have a beautiful tan. I had a very relaxing cruise. Today was Father's Day. So first of all, to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Hope it was a great one. To James, to Tyler, also fathers, and myself, happy Father's Day, boys. James, how was your Father's Day today?
Thanks, Doug. It was great. Thank you. We spent the day on the beach. You know, I live at the Jersey Shore. What else better to do than to go to the beach? It was a little breezy, but all in all, it was a great, relaxing day, and looking forward to kicking some ass this week because of it.
Nice. Tyler, you're looking a little red. Were you also in the sun?
Yes, I was all day.
For 5 minutes.
I went out on a pontoon, Lake Minnetonka. It was super fun.
Oh, I went on a pontoon boat.
The best part was,
don't forget the tater dot hot dish.
It was also breezy, so the breeze was cool. So when you were going up against it, it was really nice. But if it wasn't for that breeze, I might have died. Because we're actually in a heat advisory right now in Minnesota.
Really? It was cool out here. It was only in the 60s in Rhode Island today. I did not go out in the sun too much. My wife cooked me breakfast this morning, which was great. We had bacon, eggs, and some toast. So pretty standard fare, but stuff that I like. And then we went out to lunch, and then we went out to a little go-kart track that has an arcade. Nice. So we went with the boys. Then came home. She made lasagna for dinner. Kept the boys out of my hair. They're in this stage. So Lincoln's 9 and Ford is 3. And they just antagonized the living bejesus out of each other. And my mother-in-law watched them for the last week. So she's totally a yes man. Like whatever they want, she'll say yes, no resistance. Parents come home and they're like, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. And it's just a meltdown. And they've been at each other the last 2 days. If it wasn't Father's Day today and like Jacqueline wasn't taking bullets for me, I might have just gone for a long drive. Gone for a long drive and been like, I need a break. I just got back from vacation and you guys are acting like little jerks.
Yeah. So. No, I hear you on the ages, but the nice part is last year we're all panicked because my son couldn't really swim and it seemed like he just kept trying to drown himself. This year he was very, very good at swimming. My youngest was starting to really get used to it. So now it's to the point where next year or the year after that, we might be able to just chill. And that is when it gets nice.
Yeah. We have a rule with Ford because he's 3. If he's outside, he has to wear a swim vest, and he's good about not going in the pool, which is nice. But yeah.
Do you have a swim vest?
No.
Yeah, I found out today that I now have to wear it's called a rash guard, aka a long swim
shirt.
A sun shirt. I am going to be wearing one from now on.
That's hot.
It's not going to be white. I'll tell you that.
Nope. So anywho, that's how our Father's Day was. Again, happy Father's Day to everyone out there. And if you're tuning in, you're seeing my beautiful tanned face. If you can pick up the tan, I was in the sun all week on a cruise. It was lovely. Like I said,
you didn't go swimming with the fishes?
I did not go swimming. I didn't see any fish. I didn't even go into the ocean on this cruise. We got off the cruise one time. We hung out on the beach club, which was on the beach. And then there was an infinity pool. They fed us beautiful food. It was amazing. But I did not see any fishes.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. Hey.
Take care of that, huh?
So if you're watching this now on YouTube, first of all, thank you. Like and subscribe. You can also check us on Facebook. We're live there every week at 9. We are here this week to talk about dynasty trades and how to use things like the dynasty trade calculator and DLF trades, along with some of the other tips and tricks that we have. We're going to talk a little bit about co-owning a team and doing trades because that's, I think, something that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's becoming more commonplace.
That's going to be fun.
Yes, it's becoming more commonplace in the industry. I co-own, I think, 3 teams now. So we're going to give it a twist on that. And as you know, every week we're brought to you by Fantasy Points. So again, it's Fantasy Points season, where you can use code DHH22 and get 10% off a Fantasy Point subscription. If you sign up, 90% of subscribers made the playoffs in 2020 and 2021. That'll be the same, if not better, in 2022. it is a huge competitive advantage to sign up for Fantasy Points using code DHH22 to get that 10% off. It's the lowest price in the industry. They have things like Analytic powered draft tool. There's a DFS optimizer. So if you like to play DFS, whether it's DraftKings, maybe Underdog, we'll talk a little bit about them later. Possibly you. Some really cool stuff. So let's get into some of the news. It's one of those quiet times of the season, but we do have some mini camps going on. So you've started to see some things. If you really grind and maybe you are through your rookie drafts. I don't have any more rookie drafts left. My rookie auctions are done. So now I'm just kind of typing in player names that I'm interested in and reading news blurbs about what these players look like, because Twitter, I feel like this is if you're looking for a Twitter follower, like increase, this is the time of year where if you put in the work and you're grinding and you're like, all right, I want to know about Trey McBride, and you're reading Arizona Cardinals and you're tweeting stuff, maybe it's a quote about Trey McBride. This is the kind of season where I feel like there's an advantage that can be made if you're trying to pick up followers on Twitter, because you can grind and put out some nice information there. So just a heads up for you people that care about Twitter followers. I do not care. I have like 2,300. I don't tweet very often.
That's more than me.
See, there we go. Well, I've been in the game longer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't post a ton. I take the data and keep it up here. Very rarely do I spit it out. From time to time I do. But I'm much more of an analytic data person than I am throwing my ideas out there. Other than this, I save it for the podcast. Let's put it that way. So
Samesies. Yeah,
exactly. So, there's been a lot of reports about some of these rookies, and we're going to get to them in a minute. But before we do that, I want to get to one of my favorite, if you're in redraft, this is a great late round tight end that I think can finish as a tight end 1. And it's Irv Smith. He was a full participant. He was a full participant at Vikings minicamp, according to the Athletics Chad Graff. He's been eased back from a torn meniscus he suffered in early September. So he's going to have a full year to recover, which should be pretty easy. A meniscus. So if you follow basketball, Celtics boo, but Robert Williams tore his meniscus, missed a month, and then he came back and played. Not full minutes, but this is an injury that you can come back from pretty easily. It's not a huge deal. He suffered it in September. That brought his 2021 to an end, but it appears for training camp, Ty Conklin finished tight end 12 with Smith out. That's crazy to me. Now there's no Ty Conklin around. It's Irv Smith and a bag of footballs at the tight end position. And we all know that Mike Zimmer's gone. They bring in a new head coach, Kevin O'Connell, right? So I think Irv Smith is the number 3 target on that offense, because they don't have an established wide receiver 3. Maybe someone emerges, but it's been kind of a revolving door. You've got KJ Osborne. They've had guys there in the past that have just never really panned out. Tyler, you're the closest to the heart on this one in Minnesota. What's your feeling on Irv Smith? Are you trying to get out ahead of it? Or maybe you've traded for Irv Smith here in the past. What's your feeling on Irv Smith's season in 2022?
I think he's going to be a fine middle of the pack tight end 1. Like, he should be around where Gesicki's at, 700 yards. And it's just because Thielen, honestly, people are all about Thielen this year. The wheels are going to fall off. Yeah, like buying low on him, having him as a wide receiver 3 for super cheap for like a 3rd round pick.
I did acquire him in a dynasty league in the offseason. Maybe we'll talk about that trade shortly.
He's super cheap. The issue is, do you know when the wheels will actually fall off? Is the offense actually going to be able to support as many weapons as we think? Dalvin Cook's going to be more involved. But
how good's the defense? That's the question.
That's true. And which, honestly, if Danielle Hunter stays healthy, it could be okay. I don't think it's going to be extremely good. That 1st round pick is as a safety. Safeties can make it.
Piter?
No, Sion or
no, they get Booth too.
No, yeah, Booth in the 2nd round, but they got the Georgia safety.
Gotcha.
So for me, I would probably pencil him in tight end 8. And I think that is actually a fair reason. And he's going for cheaper than tight end 8. That's the thing. Because people think that he had a major injury because he's out for the year. And it wasn't. It was more of like hey, we're going to hold this guy back. And the fact that he's 24 years old. Like, he is super young. He is not even hitting his tight end prime. So for me, I'm all in on Irv Smith. He could be the second, quote unquote, weapon in this offense beyond Dalvin Cook and Jefferson. Like, I won't count Dalvin Cook. He's the running back, But for receiving, I would say it could go Jefferson, then Irv, and then Thielen gets like 8 to 9 touchdowns. And
I think that in the last 2 years, Thielen has been targeted and hyper efficient in the red zone. I think that there's going to be a little bit of regression there. And I think that regression, I mean, is Justin Jefferson going to get some of it? Sure, because he's amazing. But also, I think that Irv Smith, in that short area, he's got the short area quickness. You know, he's shorter for a tight end, built kind of like Delaney Walker, but more athletic. So I think that he can operate really well in those small spaces. And I wouldn't be surprised if Irv Smith siphons touchdowns from Thielen. Jefferson will get his because he's incredible.
Also,
that's why I like Irv.
Also, Jefferson, I would not be shocked if O'Connell feeds him like he fed Cooper Kupp. Like that would not be a shock to me. Jefferson could have a massive, massive, massive season like Kupp did. I wouldn't say to those numbers, but they'd be up there.
I mean, they could be. I mean, is Kirk Cousins? I like to think Kirk Cousins is pretty close to Matt Stafford when it comes 100%. To fantasy quarterbacks. That most people would be like, oh, Kirk Cousins is nowhere near Matt Stafford. They're not that different.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is QB 11 the past 2 years.
Right, Kirk Cousins is actually doesn't turn the ball over as much as Stafford does. Just saying.
Kirk Cousins is one of the most underrated fantasy quarterbacks, I'll say, and real life.
Yeah, he's not bad. And if you need to buy a Bible, he's your guy.
Yeah.
James, what do you think on Irv Smith before we move on?
Real fast, I think Tyler touched on it, but you didn't really punch the nail through. Dalvin Cook's been receiving a lot more passes during mini camp. So that leads me to believe that they are totally changing the offense with Kevin O'Connell.
They might be moving him in the slot a little bit, I heard.
And I think they utilize him more as a gadget play kind of guy. Like we saw him run Robert Woods with all kinds of different stuff.
Todd Gurley when he had his massive season.
Even more so to be in on Dalvin Cook and lower on Irv Smith. I'm sorry. I can't get behind it. I know he was noted to break out last year. It just didn't happen because of injury. But when we look at these later first round tight ends that finish in the top 12, like it's a point here or a point there difference. If you can get him out of value right now because he was kind of injured, go ahead and pick him up. I mean, he's not going to make a drastic difference on your fantasy roster, in my opinion.
Fair enough. All right. Now we're going to play the game smoke or fire. Ooh. The Athletics, Jeff Howe reports my Patriots rookie Tyquan Thornton has mixed in with the starters, quotation fingers, during minicamp. So boasting a 4.28 40 time and the title of 2022 NFL's draft's fastest receiver, Thornton went for 62, 9, 48, and 10 in his final season at Baylor. We all know the trope that Baylor receivers are hot garbage in the NFL. People used to say that about USC receivers. Let's not forget. He averaged 15.7 yards per reception for his career. He was the 50th overall pick in this year's draft. Was very unpopular by analysts and draft experts, including myself. I was like, Bill, you don't know how to draft receivers. So despite the unpopularity of the pick, New England appears to be set on giving Thornton every opportunity to earn a significant role throughout camp. You know, the thing about Thornton is they've got Nelson Aguilar under contract, right? He's making a ton of money. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets let go if Thornton pops. Thornton's a big target. People think he's a small dude. He's not. He's tall. He's fast.
He's rail thin.
He is thin. But I mean, a lot of people said that about T. Higgins. Like T. Higgins, he bulked up a little bit. And T.
Higgins has probably 25 pounds on Thornton.
Right. So I think even if Thornton bulked up a little bit, he'd still have really, really. I've found that Thornton has been my favorite, along with Velus Jones from Chicago. I own a ton of Tyquan Thornton and a ton of Velus Jones because they were so cheap. In rookie auctions, I got Velus for $5 in one and $15 in another. And I got Thornton for $10 in each of them. And that's like nothing compared to like what these players are going for, because these are guys with draft capital. Velus Jones has all the opportunities in the world. There's no one else to catch passes outside of Mooney and Kmet. And then Thornton with this depth chart, we know we have Jacoby Myers coming back. He signed his restricted free agent tender.
I was hoping you were saying Moyers.
Jamie Moyer.
Jamie Moyer's son.
But N'Keal Harry's probably going to be gone at some point. I don't think he makes a team unless he transitions to a tight end.
ridiculous. Him and JJ Arcega-Whiteside are just doing the Spider-Man finger point.
Can't separate. It'll be Drake London in a few years, guys. Just you wait.
No,
big guy can't separate. Let's turn you into a tight end. I'm scared. Drake London scares me. I'm sorry. So Tyquan Thornton, I think the opportunities there, one of the reports that I've heard on the Sports Hub here in Rhode Island is that Mac Jones has been taking more shots downfield. And that's been one of the things that they're working on in the mini camps and OTAs is that Mac is airing it out a little bit. And his completions have been pretty good. I know he had a deep one to not Wilkerson. There's another wide receiver 8 on the team. And he had a long one to Aguilar in practice. So for me, Tyquan Thornton's one of my favorite cheap dart throws because of draft capital. And if he hits, cool. If he doesn't, I didn't spend much. It's not a big deal. But James, what do you think about Tyquan Thornton here in the Patriots offense? I see opportunity. I see speed. I just don't know if the talent is there.
I mean, Tyquan Thornton, let's put it this way. I'm not looking at it through whether or not he's skillful. Yes, he is super fast, lightning fast, fastest guy from a messed up combine timing. But let's get real here. The Patriots threw 553 times last season. I don't see them upping it way more than that, maybe 550. They're a running first team. We all know that.
Remember, Mac only had 3 passes in one game.
Hey, I mean, is that part of their game plan? That's part of their game plan.
Did he complete one?
Wait a second. If you break down those 535 passes, 92 of them went to the running backs. 120 went to the tight ends. 126 went to Jacoby Myers. And then there was 97 left or 197 left. Devontae Parker's going to get his on the outside. So there's 100 right there. Kendrick Bourne, who had I think 60 receptions last year.
Kendrick Bourne's their best receiver, by the way.
He had 80 targets. Now that leaves Bourne, Aguilar, and Thornton to fight over those rest of the James White's injured right now.
He's dead.
Over those last quote unquote 100. He's a running back. We already mentioned those. So slow down, Tyler. I feel
like we spent way too much time on the Patriots. That's why I'm just trying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Aguilar's 29 years old. Can Thornton beat him out? Yet to be seen. Am I rushing out there trying to get the Patriots wide receiver 3/4/ not really the biggest target on the team? No, I'm not. Okay, he may be talented, but it may take a long time for him to develop, like we've seen other Baylor wide receivers do. So I'm sorry, I'm out on Thornton. I really am. I'm not buying in.
That's why I bought him cheap, just in case. But if he hits, hey, that's what Dynasty's all about. All right. Quick Patriots note, James White is a candidate to start the regular season on the reserve PUP list. This is not a surprise. He has a hip injury. He's older. Sports Hub's Alex Barth believes 4th-round rookie running back rookie Pierre Strong looks like the best fit to replace James White. I'm going to disagree with that. Ramondre 100%. Has been working out of the backfield, catching passes. He's the dude. Forget Pierre Strong. If you've got Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, you use Stevenson in the passing game because he is awesome. Go get Ramondre Stevenson on your fantasy
my guy
teams.
Last year.
I have him on a bunch of leagues. Tyler's tried to pry him away from me in some leagues, and I'm like, nah, dog. Ramondre's my dude.
Nah, man, that's my guy.
I know. I said, I'm on to you. Harris is a free agent. Ramondre is going to be an animal in 2023, and he's going to be a startable asset, I think, in 2022 for some weeks. So let's move on. The Commanders.
Oh, I hate that name.
The Cobra.
Can we just say Washington for the rest of the season?
Commanders.
Yeah, please.
My Storm Annihilator. That's my old school Cobra Commander voice. Zach Selby reports that rookie wide receiver Jahan Dotson, who's been a draft value all season, has been electric in offseason practices. We all know Dotson was taken with the 16th overall pick in the draft. He's drawn universal praise from Washington coaches and teammates this offseason, showing off traits that enticed Washington to draft him, specifically his route running and hands. All this praise in the middle of a Terry McLaurin potential holdout. I think Dotson, unfortunately, I don't roster any Jahan Dotson, which makes me freaking sad.
I do.
But he was going in most drafts, early second round. And to me, that was silly. Jahan Dotson should have been end of the first.
We fudged up.
Going middle of the second. I saw him go middle of the second. I'm like, what? hurt.
James,
So,
don't hurt your back too much. You're patting yourself way too hard.
I think a deal.
I mean, if he hits, then I'm going to be really patting my back. But
I think McLaurin gets a deal done with the Commanders. But here's the thing: outside of McLaurin, who do they have as established pass catchers? Logan Thomas is old and coming off an ACL injury. We don't know what Diami Brown is.
Curtis Samuel.
Samuel. We hope Curtis Samuel. I love Curtis Samuel. I have him in a ton of spots.
Sneaky dynasty buy right now.
McKissick.
Yeah. Jahan Dotson could easily be the number 2 guy in this offense if he emerges. So congrats if you got Jahan Dotson at a value.
The whole issue is Carson Wentz. That's the biggest issue.
He wasn't that bad last year.
Yeah, but he also was not great. He can support one receiver at best.
Did you guys hear about Frank Reich out in
Indy?
In Indy, talking about praising Matt Ryan over Wentz? I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Matt Ryan's accuracy is supposedly otherworldly in those cold practices.
This is so good. We needed this last year. Oops, was I supposed to say that?
There is something to be said when Frank Reich and Carson Wentz were like best friends in Philly, and then they go to Indy, and it's just like Frank Reich's like, who is this douche?
Well, yeah, because Wentz was
what
like,
happened to you?
Wentz was on the verge of winning an MVP possibly. Then he gets hurt, and then it's been downhill ever since. So,
yeah, I mean, your confidence has to be shot. I know
it's
Jason
like RG3 part 2.
Jason Moore from the Footballers talked about that with Joe Burrow, almost a reverse effect. How when he made that run, it really kind of changed his trajectory of his career. Like it showed, like, okay, Joe Burrow's going up. And when Wentz watched Nick Foles win the Super Bowl, like it was just like, see ya.
He cucked it and he couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. All right, let's move on to our last piece of news. The Florida Times-Union's John Reed writes that Jaguars running back James Robinson, who tore his Achilles, is not likely to be ready for next month's training camp. Shocker, not everyone is Cam Akers. But Travis Etienne seems to be the name, the steady drumbeat that we're seeing tweets about. We're watching highlight videos. Everyone is in on Travis Etienne. His stock continues to climb, but how high is too high? He's currently RB18 on Dynasty League Football.
It's going up.
Is the buy window officially slammed shut on Travis Etienne? James, is his price too expensive now? Should you bought him months ago? Because that's what you should have done.
Yeah, you're too late. In my opinion, the door's shut, locked, key buried in the backyard somewhere. You could check under all the rocks you want. You probably won't be able to get him without overpaying for him now.
Brees Hall or Travis Etienne?
Etienne.
You know, I traded. Well, we're going to talk trades here in a minute. Yeah. But in the league that I co-own, co-owner talk.
You traded with me.
Our buddy Damon. We traded the 102 for Etienne.
Yep, that was me. I took Ken Walker.
Yep, and for me, Etienne over Walker.
Yeah, like at this moment, there's a little bit of regret.
And you know what? Now it's not Kenneth Walker. It's Ken Walker. It's Ken Walker. So that immediately bumps him down.
I would say it bumps him up. Like
Kenneth is so much more distinguished and.
Yeah, I liked Kenneth Walker.
It
kept him away from.
Walked up.
Ken Walker sounds like the guy down the street. Slicing the meat at the deli.
Has a Jeep.
Hey, go see Kenny Walker.
Go see my boy Ken Walker. He didn't give you a slice, nice real thin slice.
Hey.
Ken Walker's somebody who either drives a Tesla or has a Jeep with the doors off and everything with the huge roll bars and roll cage.
Trying to put his foot out the window.
Has it souped up. Wears like board shorts, tank top, tribal tattoos. I could keep going.
I was proactive enough to go out and acquire Etienne in a couple of drafts before the rookie drafts. And because I saw that there was an opportunity to buy low, I looked at some of the calculators, and we'll talk about them in a minute. And maybe this is a good transition. I don't know. But I looked at what his value was, and I was like, that's a player whose ceiling could be sky high. He's in that elite prospect along with Brees Hall, Najee Harris. Some of these running backs that we've seen that have had like a 99 overall grade and things of that nature. Etienne is right there. The passing game work in college was outstanding. The target share was great. He's with his quarterback from college, shower narrative time. He's a first-round pick, so he's got draft capital. We saw him get injured and never saw him take the field, so there's automatically that discount built in. So that's why I was kind of aggressively trying to pursue adding Etienne onto my teams because his ceiling could be massive.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I traded 2 shares of them. We'll go over, you guys all heard I traded James Cook for Etienne just because I love James Cook. In hindsight, probably could have gotten a lot more right now. But you know what? We're not going to talk about hindsight because, I mean, you get your guy, you do what you do, you live with trades. But for me, Etienne, as much as everybody else loved him, he wasn't as much as a slam dunk prospect. I had issues with him. I didn't think his cutting ability was great. I thought he was more Tevin Coleman in his prime than anything, just because he's super fast, lightning quick, acceleration through the roof. But man, if you wanted this guy to go left or right, it took a little bit. But man, his speed and acceleration is for real. And if he's in open space, you are not catching him. And so he does have the home run ability, but it's the Jags. And that is what also gets me every time. Like, I love Trevor Lawrence. I struggle with the Jags. Like, they're just a bad franchise, and bad franchises are bad franchises for a reason.
Yeah, but I mean, James Robinson was successful in fantasy for them.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
maybe
but if he gets 60-something targets and 50 receptions, I'm not mad, along with the goal line work.
So maybe trading for Travis Etienne wins you your fantasy league. And if it does, then I want you to go on trophysmack.com and I want you to use code DHH ring, because when you do that, you are going to get a free $60 championship ring with the purchase of a trophy or a belt. They also have stuff for the losers in your league. There's for every winner, there's 9 to 11 losers. Get them all a trophy if you really want to just poop on them and be like, here's a toilet bowl for everyone that didn't win. And that's code DHH ring for a free ring at checkout. James, you just completed your customizable belt.
On its way. It shipped yesterday. I am so excited.
And it is on its way. So next week, if you get it by then, we need you to model it here. And what a great reason to like and subscribe on YouTube, by the way, to see this belt, this customized championship belt. I recently mailed out my belt that I won. There's some tears on the package. I mailed it to Tyler to send it to Al.
Beautiful package. So
that's what she said.
Doug's art on this box was one of a kind, and it was the best. But also, Trophy Smack, that free ring you get, I'm holding it up on camera.
Boom! Look at that.
It is legit. I've got the case for Doug and I's title for Trade Addict 7. And Trade Addict 7 is about people who like to trade, and what a better way to transition into trades.
Look at these awesome segues. We are going to talk about trading. So we talk about this from time to time, but we using DTC and DLF. I'm just going to give you. I'm not going to talk as much, but I'm going to give you guys the floor. You guys are more active traders than I am. I tend to build my dynasty team the way that I like them, and I don't shake them up all that often, because once I get a roster to where I really like it, I don't mess with it really that often. So UDPL is a perfect example, league that Tyler and I are in, and I've been in it since the beginning. I've won it once, kind of had to tear it down to build it back up, and now I feel I have a competitive squad again. So for me, I've got all the pieces in place. I've got solid QB1. I've got good running backs. My wide receivers are pretty good. Tight ends are deep. I've got draft picks coming up in the future. I'm not looking to play with it all that much. So for me, when I get my dynasty squads in that sweet spot where I have a lot of them, I don't tinker. So this is where Tyler comes in, who loves to tinker. He'll blow up a squad and try to rebuild it in a year. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But that's the risk that you take. I am risk averse. I do not like to take risks. Once I have what I deem is like a safe roster, I try not to mess with it. Because I don't have a lot of time. And I don't put a lot of thoughts. Once a roster's good, I don't think about it all that much. Do I receive offers? Sure. And I'll look them over and I'll think about them. But a lot of times, they're not offers that blow me away. And I'm like, I don't want to mess with my squad. So for me, I'm more trade averse. James and Tyler, this is more about you. You guys are more active traders than I am. Tyler's the most active trader I've ever been in a league with. And I'm in a lot of leagues with Tyler. So Tyler is flipping pieces like the stock market. So he's trying to get rid of them before the crash, and he's trying to acquire them before they boom. So kind of like Bitcoin. Hey,
as long as it's not Dogcoin.
Doge.
Doja.
The
Doge.
Doja. Is that like a weed coin?
I love trading. Just the whole aspect of it. Like, there's times when I will sit there and I'll be like, I've not traded in a while.
Get the itch.
I do.
I have the itch right now. I just can't get anything done.
I love it. And even if it's just a little one, like going out and acquiring Van Jefferson or Ty Davis Price, getting a small piece, seeing if you can't flip, looking at your teams, using the GM tool in Dynasty Nerds and seeing who needs running back, who needs quarterback. That's what I love about that GM tool, because it shows like whose value at quarterback is very low compared to yours. So you can maybe flip a quarterback, downgrade that quarterback, and upgrade at receiver with that trade.
I do have something that I want to before I lose my train of thought. I think one of the savviest things that you can do. So most of the people that play fantasy football that I know are somehow involved on Twitter, whether they're just, they're there to observe and read and kind of, the steady drumbeat that we talked about Travis Etienne. It's been a steady drumbeat on Twitter for a while. You see cycles where players are getting bumped up from different big names. And
Jahan Dotson right now, value.
So that drumbeat starts to kind of beat. The advantage that you can get in your dynasty league is having, this may sound, not rude, but having your own opinion on players and fading that. So there's going to be a steady drumbeat for Travis Etienne. So when everyone's on Travis Etienne and his value is going up, you need to look around and see what players their values either aren't moving or they're going down that no one's tweeting about. Maybe it's a Cam Akers, right? So there's a lot of people that are like, and I know Tyler's one of them. He sold Cam Akers in a few, is like, well, Cam Akers didn't look explosive coming off the injury. He's, not known for his pass blocking. They drafted Kyron Williams. Like there's a lot of stories that you can tell where you can kind of crap on Cam Akers, right? So that opens up a buying opportunity, but no one's really
I don't want to crap on Cam, but
no one's really talking publicly
about Odell, maybe.
Sure. No one's really talking publicly about a player like Cam Akers in a positive light. So if you have your own thoughts around players and they're not being touted on Twitter, that's the time when you want to send offers, because I feel a lot of the times when you send offers or I get offers, it's based on like the information that's out there. Like someone's 100%. Having a great training camp. Here's an offer for Ramondre Stevenson. Okay. I obviously read Twitter too. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's fading that noise and kind of working in between the margins and having your own opinions on players and going out and acquiring them when there isn't a buzz before there might be a buzz. So it's one of those things. We all have players that we really like, that we might go try and acquire that people aren't all about. And I think that's where you can really win a lot of trades. And, the thing about trading is everybody wants to win. And that's what I think what makes it difficult sometimes is trading players is that everyone wants to feel like they got the best deal. And that can be difficult.
That's like one of my things on my list to tell you guys, like, don't always worry about winning the trade. If you get your guy and the guy you're trading with says it's a fair trade and you think it's a fair trade, just do it and see where it goes. There's a lot of public opinion out there, but if you feel that strong about James Cook, go out and acquire him. Give Travis Etienne away, sure, or trade Jonathan Taylor a year before you should. Those are the things that we battle with when we want to trade. But if you want to move players, sometimes you have to be patient. There's a win now dynasty and there's a rebuild dynasty. There's nothing in between. You flip the switch and you're win now, and that's all that matters. If you're win now, you're not going to go out and acquire guys during the preseason to make sure your wide receivers 5 or 6 is solid during the season. You want to wait to see what guys are rebuilding that have older players that are going to pop later in the season and go out and try to acquire them. In return, the rebuild dynasty manager, hold your value players until you absolutely don't need them anymore. If you're rebuilding, those win now teams will dump picks in your lap down the road towards the end of the season for you to rebuild in the following season in 2023 and so on. So wait for the push.
Yeah, for me, it's don't do what everybody else is doing. And right now it's a 23 first. Those are to the point where they are completely overvalued. Maybe
get the seconds. I say it every big draft class. Get the seconds.
Go to 24. Screw 23. Go to 24.
Get the seconds, man.
Like even the seconds, the hit rate is fine. every time we're like, get the seconds, the hit rate is not as great as we all wish. Like, yeah, the early seconds are great. You get Pickens this year. You got T. Higgins a couple years ago.
Jahan Dotson
this year. And for me, it's don't do that. Don't try to go for 23 first. Like, I see people like, oh, I'm trying to get all the 23 first. It's like, you will have nobody. And maybe at best, 7 of those players do something. 1 or 2 of them become elite. Your team's still struggling. Like, that's not going to help you.
It's a bad probability, Bob.
You need to find value. And for me, there's nothing more fun than looking at taxi squads of teams and just being like, Devin Duvernay, he could maybe hit. He could be their wide receiver too. Let me go offer a 3rd round pick for him. And if he hits, he hits. And if he doesn't, I'm out a 3rd. Oh, well, like, I'm starting to really like the values, like players I can get for 3rd round 23 3rd round picks. Heck, if I can get 2 players like Ty Davis Price and somebody else for a 23 second, like, I'm going to get somebody decent. I'm okay with that. Like, I give me 2 shots rather than 1, because for me, I want stability plus depth in my dynasty teams, because without depth, especially in season, you're going to start becoming that team that trades for players. You're going to start becoming that team that trades away picks. So why not go for the cheaper shots now rather than in season overpaying for older players?
And without depth, you need girth. So
that's true. like UDPL. There's a 1 year I finished 2nd, and that was the year I think I lost to you, Doug, right?
I believe that is correct.
Yes, I lost to Doug. I got 2nd. After that season, I've struggled to kind of put the team how I see it, like I want to see it. And I made some bad trades. I made some good trades. There's a mix and match. Mm-hmm. And I have a good young core. The thing is like, if you feel satisfied about a team. And for me, it's like with the team like that, I'm not quite there. But I've got a lot of youth and a lot of players that if they hit, my team changes. And that's what I like about teams like that. Like, if I have all old players like I had last year, and the whole reason why I sold and started trading, it's because the value of players will fall that I had. I had Zeke, I had Derrick Henry, and I knew I'm going to be stuck with these guys if I don't trade them.
They're eroding assets.
Yes, sure. And there's nothing worse than having Hopkins, that. But the thing is, like, did I trade too early? Did I trade bad? You
may have traded too early on Zeke. I think you can still get rid of him.
But really, I don't think I did
for a good amount. What did you get for Zeke? Talking trades.
I want to say I traded Zeke back to the original owner, and I
was the original Zeke owner.
Yes, and I got Zeke from you in a playoff push, and then I traded for Zeke. I traded Swift, and I got Zeke plus. Like I got some players back. I wanted depth, but the issue was I wanted Swift back, so I traded Zeke plus to get just Swift back, which I was okay with. And then, I traded Swift and all this stuff. But for me, my new philosophy, in all honesty, is if I have a running back that I feel has peaked at value, I'm trading them. Izzy said this on Dynasty Trade Calculator, and I'm with him. I hate having extremely valued running backs where I can just get the world for them, but I can just get a tear down player, maybe even a rookie, and just accumulate a ton of value. They could help me win, but I want to build this juggernaut. And if I'm going to do that, you got to trade a running back at the right time.
So Dalvin Cook for Travis Etienne plus?
But that's not happening right now because of the trends. Yeah. The trends. You got to follow trends.
Here's a good example. So in the UDPL, I have Najee Harris. I was looking at all my rosters the other day, and I was like, you know what? Najee Harris is sky high value right now. I know he had a great rookie year. Do I take the plunge and see what I can get for him? Or do I hold on to him and hope that he improves over his rookie season?
I am right with you, Doug.
That's a tough one.
I have him in a league. It's a home
Sell
league.
him.
I have him in a home league. He could destroy. He could be RB1. The thing is, like, he's gonna be 25 next year. Am I gonna be like stuck holding the bag, or do I hang on to one more year? Is his offense gonna be pushing? He's still super young, and he gained weight. In my opinion, I'm not scared about that. I think it's more. We're gonna see him last longer throughout games, and kind of push the pile more per se. He's gonna go back to his true Alabama days where he
It's
was
like on a team like I have in UDPL where I feel like I can compete for a title. Do I trade a Najee Harris for, like, say, a Saquon Barkley in some other pieces? Maybe
2023 first.
I could probably get that, right?
You probably get that.
No. Because in UDP, the thing is, like, we're talking industry leagues.
I mean, if you're talking industry leagues, it may be a little bit more difficult.
Yes.
For the common dynasty player, put it into perspective. Najee Harris,
Every
he may
league
have
has a
hit
Steelers
his
fan.
peak. Listen to what the Steelers have done already. They've already come out and said they were going to temper his reps. Okay, yes, he's still probably going to get a nice full workload.
If Tomlin's there, they're still going to run him into the ground.
Yeah.
They added 2 wide receivers this year.
Doesn't matter.
All right, they added I mean, come on. I mean, small finger Pickett, he can't run the ball.
I just honestly,
it's a different offense.
I don't think it's not. Like, they're gonna run, and when they say they're gonna take Najee out for snaps, Najee doesn't have to run the ball or run a route every snap. They could come out and then have somebody go just run a route. It's not a running play. So the snap that he goes out of, yeah, he may have missed a target, or maybe he's in for pass protection. Like, I think when he's in, there's a greater chance of him actually getting the ball. So
let's get it back on the rails. I just think it's an interesting case, right? You see a player who's now the RB like 4.
Yeah, he's an RB 4 or 5.
Right. I got him at the 107 last year in the draft, and now he's the 4th running back in Dynasty. Like, I'm already selling it. If I sell him, I'm already selling at a profit. So it's an interesting case for players like that.
Breece Hall for me is a sell. He's already
been a sell for me since the beginning.
He's like RB6 right now. And he hasn't even touched the ball. He's on the Jets.
He stinks in Madden, by the way. His 99 card, not good.
So, like, that, I struggle with that. Like, if I had Breece Hall, I'm trading for James Cook plus a 23 first. Heck, I'm going to tell you a trade. I traded DeAndre Swift, my dude, Swift, who also is getting hype through the roof right now, I think value is through the roof. I traded Swift for James Cook and a 23 first, and I am ecstatic about it. Like, I love that trade because I'm getting a guy who I think can be as involved as in the passing game, and also a 23 first, which are almost impossible to get. So I love that trade. I'm starting to really like that RB trade down. Like, that's what I'm talking about. If you have a Swift or something like that, go get a Cook.
You know what a perfect example would be for me for Najee is because the Broncos re-signed Melvin Gordon. It's kind of put Javante's value down right now, is going from Najee to Javante plus. And I'm not saying a first on the other end, but you should be able to add another piece or two to that deal. I think some managers would do that. What
is Javante's DLF ADP right now? Because I still think he might be ahead of Najee. Like, that is
I don't think he is.
That's the thing. Like, with Javante, he's the type of player that if the guy who owns him or gal, the person who owns him, rosters him, is going to be the one who drafted him ahead of Etienne, ahead of possibly Najee, like the big time believers. And that's what you kind of got to realize also with trading is no fandom, no players that they like. I trade a lot with a friend of mine at work, and it's easy to connect. We talk, but I know his players. I know who he likes. And he talks to me about he loves Breece Hall. So a Breece Hall trade like that could be easy. It could be really easy. He's a huge Najee fan. And I have Najee in a league. I don't think I could do Breece for Najee and get Breece plus. But, I mean, you got to know. And I know Doug, we talk about Leo Pasiga all the time and what he likes to call the black book of notes and all that stuff. I actually currently started doing one, and
Ooh, what does it say about me?
Like I have one about
loves
a friend.
Dawson Knox.
I have one about a friend where it's just like does not trade. You either nag him to death or you just forget about it. Like there's people like that. There's some people where you just gotta be
Gabe?
like.
I've traded with Gabe before.
I've traded with Gabe
chase
before.
him down, like
yes, I mean
vehemently.
he's got like 35 kids right now and a TV show in the works.
He's got a rap song about each one of them too. It's crazy.
Yes, but yeah, like know who you're trading with, and it's easy. And honestly, my favorite way to trade is send an offer, and say, hey, let's talk. I'm okay with talking about it. This isn't my extreme. Yeah, this is my final offer. We can switch pieces.
We call it a feeler in the industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my favorite trade I've seen go down is Pete Davidson and Shane Manila. Shane literally just said, Pete, send a trade, and then an emoji of a meat. And I had no idea it meant there's still meat on the bone with this trade. And they got a trade done. Like, they didn't send any messages. It was just emojis. And they got that. Like, there's probably trade talks in the background.
It's good communication. I mean, that's what you have to do. And you have to be able to talk to all your league mates and stay active. And that's the whole point of being in fantasy and owning a dynasty league. Like, you want to be active as much as possible. And that helps. Just to vet that Javonte Williams, Doug, he is RB4 on DLF. Najee Harris, RB5. So I don't think you're going to make that one work for you, pal.
Oopsie.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about communication. I will message people. I won't even send a trade sometimes. Be like, hey, I'm really interested in these
when you
players.
say message, it's borderline /nag.
Oh yeah, I will.
Okay, just to clarify,
I'm not
every group chat that I'm in with Tom. You've got a trade. You've got a trade. You got a trade. Just sent you a trade.
You look at this trade yet?
You look at this trade. Did you counter? Did you
counter?
Do you want to
counter? Some of my favorite things is people know how I am in leagues, and I will just message, I feel like trading, and I will get 4 offers. I love it. And it's like the persona that people see in me, like, hey, this guy wants to trade. We could get a trade done tonight if I wanted to. So like they get excited, I get excited.
And in my notebook with Tyler, it says, when trading with Tyler, don't immediately accept offer, counter, make him sweat, make him add extra draft pick, get deal done. Bam, done.
That's the black book of Tyler, right there.
If I want a guy, and everybody knows who my guys are, I'm not shying away from people. I will pay. And that's the thing. Like, I'm going to get my guy.
In Canton. Thank you.
I'm going to get my guy. And
did you use the meat emoji?
That's my thing. Like, that's Doug. You mentioned it with Memphis. Like, as much as you hate how I trade sometimes, you tip the cap on how I get my guy. I will, if I like, it was with Swift, Herbert. I'm trading for them before their value goes extreme. I mean, Hawkinson was another guy that I went all in on.
Oh,
loved
he's gonna
him.
Pop soon, I hope.
Mark Andrews was another player. I mean, I think all 3 of us, Tim, back in the day, we were all in on Mark Andrews. But like, there's players where you just have that feeling. You're like, I need to have this player on my team, and if I don't, I know I'm going to miss out. And if you have a player like that, go get him. Who cares if you have to throw in an extra third? Don't let 3rd and 4th round picks decide if you're going to get a trade done. I
agree with that. 100%.
That's the biggest thing. Like if Riley Bymaster comes up to you and says, I need a 3rd and a 4th, I'm okay
throw in
with
Noah
it.
Brown and get the deal done.
Oh yeah. I mean, CD Lamb for Noah Brown straight up might get the deal done.
Wide receiver blocking points count.
And now let's quickly what are
Doug,
your
what happens when you don't trade?
You know what happens
when you can't trade? Like
you know what happens if you suck at trading? You go on Underdog. That's what you do. You check out Underdog. If you want to play DFS, they just brought back the rookies and sophomores. There's the puppy, which is just a $5 best ball. They've got the big best ball, $10 million pot.
Best ball mania, baby.
Best ball mania. It was just this past week, a year ago, that the draft, the team that was drafted won. So it was before even preseason started, which is wild. So there was obviously some great values in there, like Jamar Chase's. But the cool thing about Underdog is that if you go on there and use code DHH, your deposit up to $100 is going to be matched right away. So you're going to have $200, up to $200. It's free money, and it's going to be awesome. So make sure you do that. Best Ball Mania is live. Go win yourself some money if you suck at trading. DFS is for you. Just go on underdog.com. Let's talk. I want to talk using trade calculators. We've talked about it in the past, and I'll be on a soapbox for about 60 seconds. When someone sends me a screenshot about trade calculators or whatnot, or how I use trade calculators, I can't be swayed by them. It's cool that it's an even deal. Like that doesn't, or I'm winning by a couple of points. I don't need to win the trade to make the trade. What I use it is a guide. So if I want to know what player values are at right now, and I'm sending a trade, even before I send the trade, I might go on DTC, which I have subscription to, highly recommend. Mm-hmm. I go in and punch the player in, and I take a look at it, and that gives me a guide, but I don't use it as a be-all, end-all to make a trade. And I think that's important because a lot of people will try and sway you with like, oh, you're winning by 5 points, like make the deal, or like it's super close. And they try to use the trade calculator as part of the negotiation. And to me personally, it just doesn't work. In my head, I have an idea of if a trade is good or not, or fair or anything like that. I just use that as a piece to make sure my valuations are similar. And maybe the player that I value was like, oh, they're actually worth more than that. Okay, maybe I can get an extra third round pick because maybe they're looking at DTC and they're like, oh, this works out, because some people think that they look at like, oh, the numbers are even, like, let's do this deal. So that's how I use trade calculators, whether it's DTC or DLF. Tyler, what's your thoughts on trade calculators?
Yeah, I like to use them every so often. Like if a trade feels close to me, and I'm like, if I ask these two and like, hey, what do you think about this trade? That usually means I've also looked on a trade calculator or something, because I'm kind of partial to it. I know I did it with the James Cook Etienne thing, and obviously the trade calculator was like, hey, you're losing. But you know what? In my opinion, I wasn't. There's definitely
have you had the DTC guys update James Cook to your guy?
No, but I should talk to them about that.
You need to. They can do it quickly. I saw Mosher do it like super easy.
Yeah, we watched. Yeah,
I think Tommy Sweeney's my guy.
Yes, and like for me, I like it, but for me, there's also a difference. Like I use Dynasty Nerds. I have their nerd tool, and when I look at values of their players that they have, it's also based off of kind of their feeling, and they're not too high on James Cook. And so they have Isaiah Spiller about 1,200 points higher than James Cook. And in my opinion, that's way off. That shouldn't even be close. So for me, like when I look at that stuff, I want to find the right calculator for me. And Dynasty Trade Calculator, I think, is based off of the people's ADP, the people's thoughts.
It's the people's calculator.
It's the people's calculator. And, Dynasty Trade Calculator is the people's calculator. And for me, I found it has the most like slam dunk value wise that I've seen in the industry and altogether, like how people value players. So I love that one. They update it all the time. And for me, yeah, go out and get that. And also don't use just one. You can use multiple. DLF has one. Dynasty Nerds, like we talked about, you can get a subscription from them using DHH, and you can get 15% off a sub. And you get all those cool tools, like I mentioned. But yeah, like subscribe to more than one because they're different. Yeah. And if you don't like Dynasty Trade Calculator, if you don't like their value, maybe try a different one. Maybe go to Dynasty Nerds, try theirs. And you know what? They're really cheap. They're very well priced. Like for Dynasty Trade Calculators, like $5 for 3 months or something. It's ridiculous how cheap
you can buy a year subscription too.
Yeah, and same with Nerds. Like it's very, very cheap. So, and it's valuable. It's a valuable tool. It's not the all be all. It's a tool to help you maybe, like you said,
a guide. It's there to hold your hand.
Tyler definitely did not use it during the James Cook, Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, 22.5. James Cook, 12.4.
But in my head, they're a lot closer.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And that's what I wanted to bring to this conversation. Because Doug, you had mentioned, using the tool, using calculators, they help. They do. But once I know someone in my league, especially a home league, I got everybody to use the Dynasty Trade Calculator because I was tired of seeing all these preposterous, freaking bad trade offers. I'm like, guys, you need to learn some value. Start
Jack for Davis Mills.
Use this calculator. Use this calculator that I found. Here's the Dynasty Trade Calculator. Now they all use it. Now I know when I see a player, like Tyler said, when I see a player that is overvalued and is on my roster, I am selling him using the calculator. But like, hey, I punched this into the calculator. It looks great. What do you think? You want to do it? They look at the calculator. They're winning by 3-4 points. They are happy.
So James brainwashed his
He uses it as leverage.
Yes.
Yes, that is the upper hand. You have to be able to get the step on your competition at all times.
So Italian of you.
Hey, man, you got to find the loophole.
Leave the cannoli.
That's how you get it done.
Honestly, I love trading. Like, just to kind of put a bow on this, trading is probably the best thing in Dynasty for me. Next to sitting on Sunday, going head to head against a friend, an industry folk, or even just somebody you don't know, like in Scott Fishbowl. Like,
ooh, it's trading. I'm so excited.
Trading for me is so fun, and it's more the connection with people, and you always learn something about somebody when you're trading. Like, you learn who somebody likes more. Like, if somebody's like, well, can you throw in this player, and you kind of, it tips you like, hey,
as soon as Tyler says Josh Palmer, I'm like, I'll accept.
Yeah,
but I'm not giving up a 23 third for Michael Pittman, who shall not be named,
which
I
is
hope
also,
you don't listen to this podcast anyway because I play against you.
That's another player like Michael Pittman. His value is so skyrocketed.
It's skyrocketed.
Like, Pittman 3 months ago, you could have gotten for a 22 first.
Russell Gage is another one.
I traded Michael Pittman and the 102 for Kyler in a Superflex league because I needed to shore up my QB2 after Josh Allen.
Ridiculous.
I don't regret that deal, but like Pittman now, his value is like,
yeah. Well, it's the same with Etienne. Like, values change.
He's hitting wide receiver 1 territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's borderline wide receiver 1.
And it's the same with Etienne. Like, Etienne's value with the James Cook trade, I may have gotten a 23 second added on to it. Now, am I still excited to have James Cook? Yes.
Sure.
Am I disappointed? A little, but you know what? I can't control the values. I can't do that. Like, I traded Baker straight up for Zach Wilson in January. And this was, while the season was going on. And for me, I'm still okay with it just because I'm hearing reports about Zach Wilson. I think Baker's a better quarterback than Zach Wilson, and I'm going to stick to my guts on that. Like, values will change. The trade that may look bad now will look better next year. Like, I'm going to leave on this example. I have a
firm belief that Mayfield goes to either Seattle or Carolina, and it's really looking like Carolina right now.
I have a prime example. Last year, I traded Justin Fields and Rondell Moore to Gabe and J-Mike for Zach Wilson and Jalen Waddle. Now, then the trade looked garbage. I got a lot of heat for it, saying, why would I trade?
Now you got to flip Waddle. Let's do it.
Now, I already traded him.
Yeah, of course you did.
I traded him for CeeDee Lamb. It was a little back and forth with me and Shane. But no, like, back then, that trade looked completely one-sided. People were bashing me for trading Fields. Right now, that trade is completely one-sided. And it would have been that side. It would have been Zach Wilson, who is almost evenly valued with Justin Fields.
Yeah, Fields
just because
is low.
Yeah, the stocks on Field is low, and Waddle is far surpassed Rondell Moore. Like, that's the thing. Like, your trade may get bashed on now, but in a year, you could be the one reaping the benefits. So don't be down on a trade that you made that people are like, hey, I can't believe this. Like, that is a stupid trade. You want to know why? Because they value it like that, not you. So just stick to your guts.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk a little about, I know we're at the hour mark, but let's talk a little about co-owning. We hinted at it earlier. So like I said, I co-own a few different Dynasty leagues. I co-own with Tyler, my buddy Damon, and my cousin Christopher. And it's always interesting. It takes a little bit more to get a trade done because obviously instead of just one person like having to make a decision, you have to float it by the other co-owner and kind of work with them, which is part that I like it. I like having that other person to bounce ideas off of, to kind of go like when Tyler and I receive an offer, we're in a trade addicts league together. We get offers, we send offers. And he pings me back and forth and we talk about a trade. Now there might be a trade where Tyler's like, yes, I really like it. And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Kyle Pitts.
Like sell me on it. Right. Yeah. The Kyle Pitts deal was one he made behind my back. Don't ever do that, by the way. But it's all about collaboration, and I find that a lot of fun. Like with the league that Damon and I co-own in, I have more Dynasty experience than Damon does. He asked me to join him. His team was struggling. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a hand. We can co-own together. And we worked our way through some trades, through the draft, and we did it together, which is not only really fun to do, but also fun to build that bond with someone else that's big into fantasy football, because you're working more closely with them. It's not like they're just another league member. They're actually like your teammate. So I like that camaraderie that can build. And I think that a lot of people it's becoming a more common practice now in Dynasty that people are co-owning, because let's face it, we just had Father's Day. We all have children. Yeah. We're busy people. You guys work full-time jobs. I've got a lot of stuff going on. So it's like you people. So when you have a lot of stuff going on in life, it's really nice to have that co-owner, because maybe they see a trade and you don't see it because you're busy, and then they shoot you a text, which is more accessible to you. You're not checking your email all the time. So it takes kind of some of the pressure off. And to me, it makes it more fun to have someone else involved, and it creates opportunities where you may disagree, but a lot of times like Tyler and I, like we've disagreed on trades before, but we can find a common ground. I'm like, all right, I'd like that deal better if they threw in an extra pick or whatever, and we can get it done. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But I just like that aspect of Dynasty. The more as I get older and my leagues don't seem to be reducing at all, it's nice to take some of the heat off and also split the pot with someone. So it's not as costly either, because you're splitting the league fee. A $50 league is now only $25. Yep. So that helps soften the blow a little bit too. And it's always nice to split a pot with someone too.
So co-owning with Doug, I will say,
Doug, you want to co-own the team?
I have
maybe
never drafted so successfully in my life in any league that with Doug and I pushed for Justin Jefferson. He pushed for Jamar Chase over Kyle Pitts, even though we got both. But like those two decisions made our championship team. Like going full
trading for Dak.
Trading for Dak when he was hurt, like right when he was hurt, trading for Dak. And we had no we legit started no quarterbacks that year. Trading for Dalvin Cook when his value was kind of teetering, and just being like, you know what, let's keep going for this title, and making decisions like that. Yeah, we made a bad we traded Jonathan Taylor, but you know what, we got an extra first out of it, which we're fine with, and we got DeAndre Swift, and then
we drafted Rager too.
We did draft Rager. Ouch. That was probably our worst pick.
That's our worst pick.
That was probably our worst pick.
Well, I mean, you listed a bunch of good ones, so I mean, you gotta list a bad one here or there.
I'm like I said, I've never had a league where it's just like it seems like oh crap, we took Antonio Gibson at 301. Like, oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
And then kind of going with that, like trading for Davis Mills was Doug and I kind of like, we need quarterback 3 for this league. Let's go
still
get
trade
Mills.
For Davis Mills. Go get Davis Mills.
We traded successfully for Mills, and we were pumped about it, and I still am pumped about it. So for me, it's definitely changed.
Who else did we get in that deal? Didn't we get a veteran receiver too?
Waller.
We got Devontae Parker too.
Yeah, we got Parker, who went to a different team.
Wide receiver 1. For
having a co-owner, like right now we're in talks with Outhouse. It may take a little longer instead of, going back and forth just 2 people. Like Outhouse is trying to get Waller from us. And I told him, I said, hey, Doug might be the better person to talk to about this right now, because I'm still in trade purgatory from the Kyle Pitts trade. But I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like after our startup, Doug, I wanted to trade for Pat Mahomes. We got offered Andrew Luck and a third for Pat Mahomes. And that was when Luck's value was skyrocket. And Doug's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I was begging him. Now, we didn't do the trade, and that's what sparked our rebuild. Would we be where we are now with our team? Probably not. We'd probably still be trying to push with Josh Jacobs on our roster and I think we had Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
We did, yeah.
And I mean, we traded those guys high just because we both agreed, like, hey, this might be the right time. So having a co-owner to kind of alter your choice and decision, because me, I'm erratic. I like to get it done.
You have hyperactive trader and me not being hyperactive. So together, it's a good mix.
Yeah. It is a great
mix.
Like
morning blend
I know when I can check Tyler and be like, no, like that's it. I'm like it's the angel and the devil. Like I'm the angel, Tyler's the devil on his own shoulders. So it's like,
do I get to wear the spandex?
Of course. With the swim shirt. Hello.
Yes. Oh yeah, I have to have
with the swim shirt.
Actually, I don't even need a shirt. I'm just red already.
That's true. Beautiful tail, by the way. Yeah, so that's a little bit on co-owning a league and why I think that it should be a more common practice in Dynasty, because it adds a lot of nice wrinkles to the Dynasty experience. So that's what I'm going to leave it at that. James, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think we touched on a lot. I'll end on this. We talked about Akers earlier. I saw a trade go down. Shout out at Fantasy Pastor. Burks versus
Boy, Clint
for Akers straight up. And we talked about this in the chat, and not convinced on Burks. He's not really my guy, and I think Akers is going to be better than some expect. I'm gonna go Akers. I'm sorry.
All right. I'd probably lean Burks. I know Tyler
has more value right now.
I know Tyler's been off Akers. He offered me Akers for the 106 in a league that we're in, and I passed, and I took Burks at the 106. So interesting segue. But then Tyler later traded Akers for what I thought was super low. It was like a couple seconds, Tyler?
Yep. And it was a high scoring IDP league, and I took Kyle Hamilton, who I think can score much higher than Akers this season.
Completely.
And also Zamir White. So I got a running back with upside and a safety that should just be ball hawking everywhere and rack up tackles and all that.
When that deal went down, I was like, oh, they got Akers for a song.
And I told Doug, I said, just watch what I do with it. Kind of draft day style.
Kyle Hamilton. So that is going to wrap us.
One last thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't set up backdoor trades. Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that to your team.
Is there a blindfold involved with that? Or
yeah, there's definitely a blindfold involved. You're saying, oh, I'm going to acquire player X, and when I get him, I'll trade him to you for player Y.
So it's almost like a three-way trade.
I'm fine with that, actually.
3 ways are fine. I like 3 ways.
For me, it's did you ask the person? Did you ask the person to do the trade? And if he's like yes, and he hasn't answered, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get this done, and then I'm gonna go get the player I want.
But if that other person backs out, that's when
then you're stuck with the player.
Well, no, you have to trust who you're talking to.
Well, that's
communication is key.
Yeah, that's a whole communication. But yeah, if somebody's like, hey, you want to do this trade, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can get this player first. Like, if you're going to trade a running back and you want to get
a stipulation, like, all right, if I get this player, I'm going to trade them to you for this. Like,
yeah. Like I've done a lot of trades where somebody's like, if I'm going to trade this running back, I need to acquire one. Just let me see if I can, and then he'll go acquire running back, and then he'll trade me the running back I want.
I've seen that happen. You just have to be careful because you can get burned. Because then if you trade for a player and then you're like, shit, now I'm stuck with this player that I didn't really want because I wanted to flip him for this player I really wanted. And then it becomes like now you might have to overpay to like right the ship and be like, now I have to send this player plus a draft pick to get the player I wanted because this guy's a douche canoe. Like, yeah, that can totally happen.
Is that like a pontoon boat?
Yeah. You never seen them?
A pontoon boat has a motor. A douche canoe is a couple of bros. I think a couple of Chads, I think the kids call them, with oars.
Chodes?
Chads. Chads are chodes. I think that's why they picked it as Chad, is like the... All right, so before we go, I just want to give a shout out to Dynasty Nerds. We talked about them earlier. Go sign up for the Nerd Herd. Use code DHH for 15% off of any subscription. We talked about the trade tools they have on there. They have an extra Nerd Herd episode. There's a prospect film room, prospect scores, and the Dynasty GM. And if you're looking for some new gear, it's the summertime. We have T-shirts available. Go on Viridian Global. Search DHH or Dynasty Happy Hour. All sorts of different colors you can get on there. So go ahead and check that out. If you need some new threads, they're super comfy. They're sized right. They look nice. We don't have any swim shirts yet. Maybe in the future if it takes off.
We definitely have to get the
summer wear. If there's a big swim shirt, maybe with a bucket hat with DHH on it, Tyler.
Tyler, are you open
I'll tell you what,
being sponsored by a suntan lotion?
They don't make one strong enough.
If you buy a swim shirt and a bucket hat, we'll give you that free zinc that goes on your nose.
I did that today.
We'll throw one of those in the box for you. How's that sound? I love it. So check out Viridian Global for some new threads. That's going to wrap it up for this week. For me, for James, for Tyler. Get out there in those trade streets. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at TheFantasyFather. James is at FF_chef. And Tyler is at DHH_Tyler. And you can follow the pod on Twitter as well. If you got any trade questions, shoot them at us. Maybe we'll go over them on our next episode. Who knows? We need more interaction from our fan base. Give us some more content, guys. We love content. We love to include you in our podcast. So if you got any trades going down, shoot us at any of those Twitter handles, and we will take a look and give you our opinions. Until next week, this has been the Dynasty Happy Hour. Thank you, and trades away, boys and girls. Let's go!